right, we are live. We're just gonna crack each other up for a little bit, just in case there's a commercial for people settling
That's
in.
right.
Get yourself a frosty beverage. Get settled. Get your posterior comfy, because this is gonna be a good one. I am beyond thrilled. I am over the moon, dude. Because let me tell you something. This is okay. I'm gonna already break out the old man card. I'm gonna show how old I am. Right.
All right.
To me, you are Merv, you are Johnny, you are Dave, because whenever somebody gets like, you are all those things of BookTube. Whenever somebody gets like a night associated with them, and nobody else wants to schedule Friday nights, man, it's because Jimmy is Friday nights.
The Friday night delight.
You are. I'm telling you, you're up there, man. I'm telling you, you're Merv, you're Johnny, you're Dave to me, and I'm thrilled that you are here. I was so thrilled. I had to let the pigeons loose when I was on your channel. For you to return the favor and like, man, I'm gonna try just to not fold like cheap lawn furniture as I'm trying to talk to you.
Hey man, I'm just upset that it took you this long to hit me with the invite. I was waiting, Blvd hit me up. He said, "Man, John really wants to have you on." I said, "You would probably be cool with that." I said, "Of course I'd be cool with that." Me and you had one of the best episodes of Chatting with Nuts of all time. I mean, undoubtedly.
Oh man, you're amazing, dude. You're amazing. And it's like I'm telling you, it's going to take everything I have not to just get tongue tied and fold like that basket is fresh smelling laundry, because as far as interviews go on BookTube, man, you are the GOAT. I just want to say hi to some people real quick. Evie says her frosty beverage is iced coffee. That's
At this time of night?
She's ready to stay up all night and read David Mitchell.
Well,
that was for her, who had the over-under of how quick we were going to get there.
2 minutes.
Hey, thanks so much, Fantasy Fanatic. The shelves do look great. I made my kid work very, very hard, and actually, he put the ends on backwards, so I had to come in back, clean up, and fix them. This is my brother from the north. It's one of my favorite booktubers, and John, Brian Bell from BellTube. Thank you so much. Brent Smith, does Jimmy know who Merv is? Jimmy,
Merv
do you
Griffin.
know who? All right. You're my man. You knew. Come on.
Come on. Now, listen, you don't become the Friday Night Delight without doing your homework, okay?
There you go.
I do a lot of watching and listening to try to learn how to be better at what I do. And I got a long way to go, but, Merv is definitely one of the best, in my opinion.
He was amazing. He was amazing. I actually got to meet him one time. Jimmy and John,
really?
two of the great. Yeah, you want to hear the story? I'll tell you the story. It's weird. It's a weird story. I shouldn't tell that. Who else we got? We got Grufe here. Been looking forward to this one. Alan's gonna have words with you, Jimmy.
Hey, if that means Alan's talking to me, I'm happy about it. I love talking to Alan, even when he's yelling at me. It's a terrific thing. John, I have to get this out of the way real early.
Hit me.
This is important stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, dude.
Oh man, thanks so much. You know what? This one, Shad says Mervyn Peak.
I mean, that's another really good Merv.
That's a really good guess for this part of the internet, but no. This birthday was absolutely amazing, and
awesome.
it was amazing because I got so many well wishes from everybody on BookTube. Like this community, Samoki dude, thank you so much. This community is like continues to just knock me out.
Yeah,
like,
man.
How long? You've been doing this some years. How long did it take you to get used to like? This is just the way everyone is. Like everyone I meet, I walk away going, they're the coolest. Like, when did that settle in for you?
It still settles in many ways. To the birthday thing, I never really made a big deal about my birthday. We didn't do big birthday parties and stuff when I was younger. We didn't have a ton of money and stuff. So I've never really considered my birthday to be a big deal. Yeah. But with how celebratory everyone is every year, I actually do birthday streams now, and it feels a little self-indulgent. Yeah, but it's odd getting that first time feeling like it's a special day whenever you're like in your 30s, because there's a bunch of really nice people out there. And to your point about everyone just being super cool, it has really helped me a lot, because I moved to a new area when I was like 26, 27.
Mhm.
And I have really struggled to make connections, like long lasting connections and close friendships. I have two people near me that I would consider friends, but I started wondering if I was just a cynical, pessimistic, antisocial butthole. But it turns out that I can still make real life connections with people. It just happens to be over BookTube. And I know this for a fact because I've gotten to meet so many people this year.
Yeah.
Like a handful of people, and every single one of them I consider dear and near friends.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that you can still make that connection, later in
And you
life.
know what? It's bizarre. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And I've
Mm-hmm.
said this before. It seems like, and I'm not sure, I'm sure it's the same, for ladies and guys and everyone. It seems like you live that life, you build a family, you build a business, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, you got your eye on that ball or something. And, all of a sudden you kind of look up and go, for a huge part of my life, my friends were the most important thing, and I don't have any left. Like, they're just, what happened to them? And that hit me really hard. Like, it hit me really hard as I got to be an older person, looked around. It's like, I'd like to go see that movie. My wife didn't want to go. I guess I'm going by myself. It's like, it was a weird awakening for me,
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Life is crazy and things move so fast anymore. It's nice to have someone that you can slow down with from time to time, and I'm fortunate enough, that where everyone that I've met has been so gracious. Also with my wife, Kelsey, she's on the channel a little bit, but not very much. But seeing her also make friends with people, her and Murphy hit it off like no one's business.
Really, that is awesome.
It was.
I watched when Murphy was there in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kelsey saved the show because Murphy was getting extremely overheated in my hot office.
It seemed like there was a little bit of a team up against you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I'm an underdog, John.
Yeah,
I'm always fighting from the bottom, just trying to scrape my way to the top.
Yeah, I feel you. Nick says we all tend to keep our heads buried in books. Kind of hard to make friends when you spend so much time in guided meditation, and I'm okay with that. Did you have friends that kind of read what you read, or you could talk about that? Because I did when I was a younger person, and then as I got older, I was looking. It's like I was chasing my wife and kid around, like, you should read this,
Yeah, I never had it when I was younger because everyone was just playing Halo, which, to be fair, Halo was pretty sick.
Halo
so
was
I
great.
get it. Yeah, it was pretty dope. And then cell phones came out, and everyone's trying to figure out how to take a good selfie in the mirror, and no one really read books. So I was kind of alone in that fact. But now I just really influence my best friend Andrew to read whatever I want, and he's read so many things that you would have never pegged him to read. And so I guess I'm kind of not forceful, but persuasive in that regard nowadays, more so than I used to be. And Kelsey, I'm always pushing reads on her. She's reading A Song of Ice and Fire for the first time. She's in Game of Thrones, and she just got to the part where they're just calling Samwell Tarly fat repeatedly over and over. And they said something about, I'm surprised you could see that. And he's like, I'm fat, not blind, which is like one of the funniest lines in the book.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. She messaged me. She's actually out of town right now. She's on a work trip. She's like, that was one of the funniest things I've ever read. And I was like, yes, you're experiencing this the correct way. This is a bit of a boys' night out, John, though. Like, I got the house to myself. My cats are fed. They're sleeping. I got the Weller out. We're celebrating your birthday. This is as good as it gets on a Tuesday, dude.
I was going to say, man, I can't believe this is a missed opportunity for me because I should have DM'd you. I just got my water bottle. I should have had something to sip.
I usually don't. I had 2 Guinnesses on Friday because I was doing kind of an Irish influence stream. But I said, it's John's birthday. I had a splash of Weller left that I've been hanging on to for a few years. I said, you know what? We'll pour it up.
Man, I can't believe I let you drink alone. I feel truly bad about that. So let's look. Oh, I gotta hit about this because you already mentioned it. Was it a tall order to get your wife on the channel with you, or did it just kind of happen? You and I watch a lot of Jimmy the Fantasy Network. I really do. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite channels. And it's like I see your wife come on. It's like my wife comes on. Like, I see you love David Mitchell. I love David Mitchell. Like, I feel like
you have blue backlights. I have kind of blue backlights.
Kind of blue backlights. Like, I feel like we're so simpatico, it's scary. Like, what did it take to get the wife on? Was she just ready to jump in there, or did it take a little conniving?
I think she has been reading so much lately that she kind of, the same thing that we had, that
Yeah.
thundering in the chest of like, I need to start talking about this stuff.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think that she's going to become a bigger part of the channel, to be honest. That's something people can look forward to, hopefully, in the new
Yes.
year. But not a lot of convincing. I think that she's extremely good on camera.
She's great.
Yeah, she does a lot of public speaking at her job and trainings and stuff. So she's very confident, but also still obviously very gracious. But her reading taste is also very wide. I mean, she reads a lot of stuff. She reads some smut. She reads some fantasy. She read lit fic. I'm trying to get her into maybe reading Anna Karenina with me next year.
Ooh,
yeah, because I need something to push me through that book. Not that it's bad. It's just really long.
Oh,
so it's a chunker. There's a lot of Russian farming in there that isn't all that interesting. So I'm trying to get somebody to do it with me so I can make it through. But yeah, thank you, Brian. Yeah, I think Kelsey's awesome. She's great.
And Brent concurred. She was great on the channel.
Thank you.
We're getting love for Kels. Like, it was, I kind of had to get, I try and do book club with the missus once a month. And it's weird. Right before we came on, like, she just read this book, and it's, I don't know. I bet you'd find it on the lit shelves. But it's sci-fi. Like, that kind of burns me up. Just like David Mitchell,
Okay.
Yeah, this should be ours. It should be over here.
Ours, I like that.
We should be able to readily. I shouldn't have to fight shelf Nazis and marketeers to get this book.
Yeah,
it should. The worst. It should be in both places. But she was telling me about this. It's time travel and this, that, and it's just like this guy's debut novel, and it's like he could be another David Mitchell. He blew her hair back to that level, right?
Who is this?
The book is called The Other Valley.
Let me write this down.
Yeah.
The Other Valley.
Yeah.
Who had the over under on me spending money on books before 15 minutes because we're on the under. Okay. It has a 3.9 on Goodreads, which means it's probably awesome because Goodreads always gets it wrong. So
I love that. Anything that's got like big 5s or 4.5 or 5s, like that's.
Oh, I'm in.
I love something that may be a little bit lower because then hey, someone took a chance and it probably didn't land with everyone. I love artists that take a chance.
Oh, John, it's 300 pages long. You're talking my language, dude. Oh my god.
You could squeeze that in over a weekend, dude.
Let's go, dude.
And he's I looked the dude up. He's a PhD in philosophy. So there's
a mark against him, actually.
There's going to be some interesting stuff in there, I bet.
I bet he thinks he's right.
I bet he thinks he knows why the caged bird sings and all that stuff. I bet he thinks he's got all the answers.
Oh yeah, they always do. Have you ever met a philosopher that likes another philosopher?
No, because they think they've got the answer, and they're all closer than me. Look at this.
You know what? I don't believe that, John. I think you might have it all figured out. I watch you and I look at a man that is content.
I don't know what I did in a past life to hit the lottery in this one, but it's like having things figured out. I bump into a lot of furniture. I am truly lost, like a lot of the time. Somehow I just punched way above my weight for my wife, and everything's been good after that. Yeah, do you know the feeling? Or you probably don't know the feeling, because here's another thing why I think this is why I love you so much, Jimmy.
I love, dude. No one makes me feel better than you, John.
This takes me back. Look, when I was in high school, my best friend was quarterback of the football team. He had the hair would part just down the middle like Keith Partridge, and he would walk down the hallways, and you would hear that leather arms on the leather jacket with all the patches, because he was all district. It's like this was the guy, right? And you on BookTube, you're that Greek ideal. You've got the intellect, you've got the wrestling background, you've got the physical, along with the philosophical, all matched together. Why do I love you? It takes me all the way back to my best friend in high school, man.
You know what? I'll take it. I've never worn a leather jacket, but maybe I should have. By God.
Did you play sports in high school, or did you just start wrestling?
So I lost 100 pounds in high school between I think it was 11th and 12th grade year, and then I played basketball after that. So I
played basketball.
Yeah, I wasn't very good. I'm 6'1" and I was a center, so that should tell you about where our school was hanging out at. But I did. Fun fact: I did play against Jordan Hall, who is a kick returner in the NFL, and Terrell Pryor, famous Ohio State quarterback. He dunked over me. I went to take a charge, and Terrell Pryor jumped over top of me and like dipped his hand in the honey pot and dunked over me. And I said, that was pretty cool, man.
Saul says, I just bought the Other Valley off a friend's recommendation and excited to get to it. Beware that there's no quotation marks for dialogue.
Oh, you're talking my language. Quotation marks just waste ink. There's no need for them.
Right. No one needs to run their cartridge out with that.
Yeah, Terrell
or grammar.
Pryor. Yeah.
Who needs all that? Who needs all that?
Terrell Pryor literally rubbed his scrotum on the top of my head.
Oh, you got posterized.
Oh, I got absolutely posterized. Yes.
See,
yes.
I was pretty decent in football, so my coach made me play basketball. So if somebody was scoring too much over there, they could send me in, and I was supposed to shut him down. It was understood he was supposed to pick himself up if I went in, and then I was immediately brought right back out because there was no reason other than that for me to be out there.
So how tall are you, John?
I'm like 6 foot. I'm like 6 even.
Okay,
well,
so
now
me
I'm old, so I've shrunk. I'm probably like 5'10" or 5'11".
But we're batting around the same area. That's good. I don't like to hinge down and look. It's like every time I talk to Jared Henderson, I have to look down because he's so short. I have to like.
How short is Jared?
I think he's like 5'6", 5'7". He's short king.
But he's a giant intellectually.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna get an angry Voxer message.
Yeah. So let's give the people. What are you reading right now, Jimmy? What's hitting you good?
Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover. I actually just filmed the first part of my vlog for it right before we did this thing.
Yeah.
And and I say this in the vlog, but it's the most recommended book I've ever had on BookTube. I joined back in 2020, and I think within a few videos, people are already saying, dude, heroes die, heroes die, heroes die. I remember Patrick read it, and Patrick's like, you should read Heroes Die. And say one thing for Patrick, he does do very good at personal recommendations. He always has for me. But I have just put it off for so long, dude, because I don't know why, actually. Maybe it's that cover, that infamous cover with AP Canavan on the front.
I know exactly what you're talking about because somebody sent it to me. And I mean, it's sitting right over there. And it's pretty thick too. Like, it's not like I'll just squeeze this in.
Yeah, it's like 535 mass market, but like there's a lot of words on the page. It's not like insanely small font, but it's not big font,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how good is it? Like, I'm very intrigued because, hey, Sam White, who just said Jared's a Hobbit, says Heroes Die with like a lot of exclamation points. So I hear
it's like a cult classic. Like, people love it, or they just think it's okay. I don't know if I've met anyone that like outright hates the book. I'm sure they exist, but like a lot of people, they're either kind of like, I don't get the big deal, or it's like that cult classic feel. I will say that I'm 130 pages in, and it's some of the easiest 130 pages I've read in recent memory. I'm not in love, but I'm having a great time. Like, I'm enjoying picking it up. I think it has a little bit. So it's a bit weird. There is third person perspectives, but there's also a first person perspective. And in the first person perspective, when you're following Kane, he's very like sarcastic, a little bit tongue in cheek, little edge to him. And it kind of reminds me of just a smidge of Jim Butcher writing Dresden.
Okay.
And I like that. I actually, for all my problems with Dresden, I think Jim Butcher's pretty talented. I
agree.
And Brent actually has it down exactly to a T. It's an 80s, early 90s action movie. You could put Arnold in this and in an adaptation, and it would work. I do think there's some stuff under the current that like could be very interesting. And I've heard that the later books are literally 180 degrees in the other way. Like, apparently they're wildly different. So yes, Kev, 130 pages. Kev is reading along with me with a few other people that are in my Discord. And he's on page 57. I am dusting you, Kev. I had some free time today, but it's very good. If I could set it up for you, just imagine.
Janny Wirtz says more people should read it. Heroes Die is fabulous.
She has an endorsement in the book, and I can't remember the exact quote, but when I read it, I said, man, I wish I was as good with words as Janny Wirtz is, because she's so succinctly nailed the novel.
A blurb goddess. Well, I've read a book. She can sling some words around herself. This is the one with it's an actor, right? An actor is thrust into a fantasy world. Like, this is what gets me intrigued.
Well, let me tell you something. So you have your fantastical land called Overworld, and this is where Kane lives, aka a character played by Harry, an actor. However, I think the Earth stuff's just as interesting because you're in a. I've never seen a network video, but I think Terrell Pryor's scrotum joke just got Jimmy a new sub. Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Line them up.
Yes.
This is I want the scrot subs. That's what we're here for tonight.
Scrotum subs, stand up. Put a scrotum emoji in the chat if you can find it.
Oh my God. Okay.
We always get into an anatomy discussion, John.
I don't know. I don't
Last
know
time
why.
it was me calling some dude a 2-pack of ass, and this time,
and that's one of the all-time greats. I should write that down. All right.
It's one of my favorite things that I've ever said on the channel.
I'm sorry I broke you up, but that was just too good. Overworld, Fantastical World. Go back. Yeah, I'm with
Overworld. So you got this guy named Harry who's an actor playing Kane in Overworld, which is like an alternate dimension. He calls it a different octave than Earth.
Okay.
Like, so it's Earth, but in a different octave. So it's a different reality.
Okay.
But when they send people there, you can get killed. You can actually be injured. So
yeah,
there's like a very real stake to this thing. But here's the interesting part, at least to me, is that the Earth isn't just our Earth. It's actually in the future, and it's cyberpunk dystopian. So like there's a whole lot of advanced technology, and there's obviously like a huge differential in the class gaps now. And Harry is kind of treated like a cog in the wheel. Like he's expendable.
Yeah.
Even though he's like the best actor, like he's the guy everybody wants to watch. So everyone's just at home watching these Overworld videos and able to experience like in a first person, almost like a VR headset type deal. And but he's really risking his life. And the thing that Stover does really well is that when I was reading the opening, I felt like all of this stuff had already existed before I started reading this book. Everything feels very alive. Like the world has been here and I'm just peeking my nose in. Not media res, but I'm just peeking my nose in to check out what's happening in Harry's life. And he happens to be going through like romantic struggle that ties into Overworld, and that's kind of the mission. But you know, really cool stuff. It does lean very heavily on the action movie cliches.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it evolves a little bit past that. And I think that'll probably be the barometer of like to love if I can get that. But really good so far, man. Really, really good. And obviously this is written in 1998. He had a lot to say about reality TV and our attraction to violence in popular media. And if he was right then, he's certainly right now.
Oh my gosh. I was just going to say, it sounds like Survivor on roids kind of, you know?
Yeah. And Samwise has it right. He says it's a violently entertaining book that's a deconstruction of violent entertainment. I think that is one of the best selling points of the book. It's very interesting. And it's not pretentious. You know what I mean? Like that kind of sounds like it could be like, oh, you know, violent.
Yeah. But it's that 80s action movie fun veneer, and it just...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at this, Jenny. We're a searing take on the entertainment industry and its egregious abuses.
Oh, Harry is. I mean, I feel bad for Harry on Earth because of how bad he's treated. But then he goes into Kane mode and he's just like kicking people's kneecaps in and stuff. You're like two totally different things. I'm just giving away my first update in my vlog. So anyone that watches, you can just skip the whole first update. I'm just going to riff off this. So the cool thing about this is that Harry hates his life and he feels better as Kane in the world, right? So he's escaping to this really violent, odd world that you would be like, how can you escape into that?
Yeah.
Which is a parallel to the fantasy reader who reads to escape their life by going into maybe something that's a little bit more violent and more dangerous. So it's like this really cool meta aspect of like, I feel like Harry's almost like the far future dystopian cyberpunk stand-in for a fantasy reader because he's escaping.
Yeah. So, okay, the name of this is Heroes Die. And who's the author again, Jimmy?
Matthew Woodring Stover. He has 3 other books. I think it's a 4-book series called Acts of Cain, but he also has written what many people consider to be some of the best Star Wars extended universe stuff. I'm not going to read that, but people say it's really good.
Yeah. Britton says, I like Stover's Revenge of the Sith novelization. So that is awesome, man. You know what? I'm sure you have talked about this ad nauseum, but I want to ask you about this. Just because, you know.
All right.
How did you become a wrestler? Was that your dream? Was that, I mean, were you chasing that? That was what you wanted to do, and you chased that down and you made it happen, or?
Yeah, man. That's exactly what it was. You know, I grew up.
That is the freaking coolest, dude.
I was the right demographic. I was poor white trash, and I mean that's what I was. You know, grew up in a trail. You know, the typical things, and anyone who else is. You know, I'm speaking respectfully. I'm one of you. I grew up, man, watching Hulk
that,
Hogan. Yeah, and just and thinking about how there was something bigger than what I was seeing, and it came to a time in like my young years, probably 11 years old, where all my friends figured out, you know, hey, Undertaker and Kane really aren't brothers, and this stuff's fake. And when everyone went, "Ew, that's lame," I said, "Oh my God, it's so much better because now I can create like." The possibilities are endless if it's not real, right? We can manufacture stories, and I was already writing stories at that age. Like I was really obsessed with the idea of writing.
No kidding, really?
Yeah. So I would take my action figures and like keep record of who won what matches, and I would have red crayon to like color blood on their faces and stupid stuff. And I would take a picture hang wire and use it as barbed wire, like stupid stuff like that. And I would write stories. I would actually write recaps of my events, and it would be like this 3 or 4 hour thing I would do on the weekends. And I did that until I was probably like 13. And started back at wrestling like every other kid does, but I took it like to another level where we had video editing production, and we ran live events and all this stuff, and I just never grew out of it, dude. And whenever high school came to a close, I did well, but not well enough to like earn free rides. And my parents were in a position to kind of co-sign my loan. So I said, well, I can either kill myself or I could. Yeah. I mean, I was like, I have nothing else. Like my life is forfeit at this point. Like I felt like such a loser that I was like, well, what's the biggest risk I can take? Because if I don't have anything to lose, why not?
Yeah.
And I found
absolutely.
I found a little bit of an ad, and they were training people down at the volunteer fire department in Kaiser, West Virginia. Shane Shadows and Leslie Leatherman down at Championship Pro Wrestling, CPW, Kaiser, West Virginia. And I went down there for like 6 months and got trained. And, you know, I was working at the time and everything. And I just I fell in love with it. It was the only thing in my life I've ever been good at. Like naturally, I was very good at it naturally.
Wow.
And,
no kidding.
Yeah, it took a lot of hard work, and I continued to train, and I went other places and did that. But I just stuck with it because ultimately I didn't really care if I failed because I didn't have anything else. You know, it was like, let's just do this. This is what I love. And I couldn't imagine doing something I hated for the rest of my life. So I love
that you were pulled in by story. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The athleticism and the pageantry and the bread and circuses, all that. But to realize this, wow, this is an amazing way to tell a narrative, you know, through this physicality and to be sucked
good
in
versus
by
evil.
That's writ large, right? Like I watched
shades of that, you know?
Yeah. Like I remember, oh man, this was you won't know that. I'll be shocked if you know this guy. This was my fave growing up, right? Because I watched a lot. I grew up in Texas, very, very small town, watched a lot of wrestling. Like, I think it came on at like Friday and Saturday night, like, 11 o'clock at night or something like this. Texas professional wrestling. Chief Wahoo McDaniels, man.
Bro, Chief Wahoo McDaniel was...
That was my guy.
I believe Chief Wahoo McDaniel was on the very first show I was ever on.
Get out of town!
In Kingwood, West Virginia. I'm like 99% sure of this. That Chief, and he was kind of the draw, right? Because if you get into like the southern parts of West Virginia or like in the South, people remember these legends like Junkyard Dog and the people who were really regional successes. But sure. Chief Wahoo McDaniel was around for a decent amount of the events at the beginning of my career. Yeah.
Oh, the tomahawk chop.
Yep.
Oh, dude, I used to love that guy. I got to put this one up. Evie would like to know, Jimmy, who's the book tuber you'd most like to give the people's elbow?
Alan, because he would sell it beautifully. Alan would sell. He would make me look like $1 million.
That's absolutely right. It's a very good answer. I can't argue that at all. So, I mean, how long were you in it? Did you fulfill what you? I mean, did you soak everything out of it you wanted to, and then? Well,
I'm here talking to you on Tuesday about books, so no, it did not work out, John.
Well, I mean,
it in fact did not go away.
Well played, Jimmy. Touche.
I mean this in all sincerity. I am so glad I'm here rather than there. I mean that. Even though, I don't know how to make heads or tails of how I feel about my life. I do know that. that I'm in a better place than I would have been had I continued. However, I did it from 17 years old. So I was 17 until I was about 25 or 26. So it was like 8 years.
So you had a good run. You had a good run. You went for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dennis says, and some of us are here to listen to you talk about books. And that's what I'm thankful for, is that I have been able to find something else where people will give me some of their time and attention, especially now when people are vying for seconds of attention with how short everyone's attention span has become, including but yeah, I did it for like 8 years. And did I succeed is a very tough question, John, that keeps me
let me couch that question in a different way.
Okay.
You couch that question in a different way. Did you learn from that part of your life, from that part of your life's journey, did you learn something that you will carry with you forever and makes you a bit of a better, more gracious person?
Yeah, actually.
Then you got everything out of it you probably should have.
But I don't want to paint professional wrestling in too well of a light. If anything, I look back at who I was back then and I say I can never be that man ever again, because it was not, you would not have liked 23, 24-year-old Jimmy Nuts at the height of his hype. You would have not enjoyed me. No one would.
Jimmy, let me tell you something. This is another reason why you and me are like this, man. If you'd have met me at my early to mid 20s, you would not have liked me either.
I don't know if I'd like anybody that's 24 except for all my loyal subscribers.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Yeah, when you're chasing something, especially in a business that's like that, it takes a certain level of delusion and self-centeredness that I began to become uncomfortable with as I became very aware that I was mortal. I did not realize how mortal I was.
Is there a lot of game to it? Is there a lot of game to be played? Is it like another entertainment industry that I would recognize? And
yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. 100%. There's 100% a whole backstage angle to all of this, as anyone that follows the business would know. But, at the end of the day, I would never blame something like that for not making it or whatever. And making it is subjective. And I've really morphed that and wrestled with it and chewed it over in my head for the past many years to try to come to peace with it. So, that's a subjective term. But I think the best thing you can do is just refuse to hear no and to be undeniable. And now there are people who are good hands and good workers that they just don't make it.
Yeah.
And people that aren't, that do. And I know them.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of them. And it is what it is. There's no rhyme or reason to what we do. And I'm sure in entertainment and
man, the games, it was so oogie, man. It was so oogie. I had some really, really, truly oogie moments that I will never talk about. But yeah, I get it. And the Fantasy Fanatic, I am sure every young person, Britain, and every young person I've met here on BookTube astounds me, because when I was that age, I couldn't put two sentences together. I'm blown away by some of the young people that I've met on this platform. I was not one of those people.
Yeah, you know what, man? I'll say this. I feel like a lot of people are really pessimistic about the people who are like growing up right now and like those 18 to 25-year-olds. And I know I was joking around earlier, but being in this space has given me a great appreciation for just how bright a lot of young people are and how much more they know and how much more they're willing to learn and open themselves up. So I'm actually fairly optimistic for the future. I don't really subscribe to the negativity I see about the younger generations. I think generational gaps are actually one of the biggest BS things. I think it's just another way to separate people. I don't really agree with it.
Yeah, I think that, having a kid that's 24, right? And hanging out and meeting some of his friends and meeting his fiance and seeing him start life, and looking at it through the mirror. And it's like, I have the same type of optimism myself. I mean, they're not as vacuous as a lot of people will tell you they are.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, and you having a son, I mean, that, like, I'm sure you feel so much pride and hope for him. You can't help but to be optimistic, right?
I just can't let this pass. I can talk about mixtape. I can talk about mixtape. Jimmy, you ever get a mixtape? You're too young, my friend.
Are you kidding? I made mixtapes for girlfriends.
Get out of town. You know what I'm saying. When you get that, You open your locker up and you reach in.
What do you see when you look at me?
Oh, you look like
What do you see?
I'm gonna say mid-30s, man. I wouldn't think that I wouldn't think you would use or make or get a mixtape.
Listen, Brent called her. I'm an old soul, bro.
That must be it, man. That must be it. That's got to be it. So, oh man, mixtapes were my wife made me a mixtape. That's one of the ways I knew she was the one.
Did you have the boombox above your head?
The say anything moment.
I like how we both went into made field goal.
Yeah, we knew. We exactly knew. Yeah, we exactly.
Nice.
I'm telling you, Jimmy. This is what. Oh, I meant to do this too. All the way up my stairwell, I have, and whoever had this on your over/under, to get back to David Mitchell, we found this thing on Etsy where they make this beautiful little shadow box of each representations of each of the story from Cloud Atlas.
Oh my God.
And we have it going all the way up and wrapping around our staircase in order as the book goes.
Bro, that is so sick.
Right?
Are you kidding?
Cool? No. Oh my God. Why would I kid? I meant to bring like Sumni's or one of like the last one, you know.
Dude, I have to acquire this.
Dude, I'll find the Etsy link. Like,
Bruh.
we got one for my wife for her birthday, and she's immediately, we have to order all these. I have to have absolutely the entire set.
This is one of those things, right? Where like Cloud Atlas is a humongously popular book and a movie.
Yes.
But in my head, because so many people I know don't like it, that I'm like, oh, no one knows about it. But there's an Etsy shop that has a Cloud Atlas item. That's so cool.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people don't like it?
Because it's hyper stylized and non-traditional narrative structure, and Sluicious Crossing is ridiculous, and that's
where it starts. That's what I think is the problem.
I think that Sluicious Crossing is the most challenging part, and then obviously Adam Ewing at the opening is like really tough, and it has to be a perfect storm for it to work for you because there's so many styles, John. Like there's different styles of story, of writing, of character work, of language. Yeah. So for it to work for the masses, it's simply not realistic. There's no way. So I just, I venture on the side of caution. I tell people, hey, don't read this. You shouldn't read this.
But here's the thing: for something that is a love story, two story, how could it work without not being all those types of genres and using language in that way to show how we would convey stories through different epochs of time and to really understand what we are made of story. It defines us. It makes us up. It is what we are. On the physical plane, we're mostly made up of water. On the metaphysical, we're made up of story. There's no excuse. There's no accident where when you get to the pearly gates or wherever else you have to. What was your life story? What did you do? That's how they measure you. That's why they open the door or not. We are made up of stories. So it has to have all those types of genres and different ways of telling a story with all that different language, right? It has to do what it does.
That's why we take time to talk story. By God. That was beautiful, John. And what a great endorsement of that book. It's just, I don't know. It's a book I would never blame anyone for hating, but for me, it was a massively important experience for me and a wonderful, I just had a good time, dude. Like I never once was like, oh, I'm not really digging this. Like the whole way through, I loved it. And I think that maybe that's the exception, possibly. But who knows? I mean, you obviously like it a whole bunch. So
you know what? In the beginning, I wasn't all in. Like my wife loves this and she gave it to me and I was reading the beginning. It's like, oh my gosh, what a trampoline beginning. Like, geez, I need a protractor to get through this, right? And then just when you get to the next one, it's like, oh man, we're rolling. I do like this part. This is rolling. And then it switches again and you're like, I was just into this. Why are we switching? What? Why?
And that's a brave thing to do for an author that's trying to keep a hook. I will say this, actually. I was a little bit wrong what I just said. I had some Weller, so everyone has to forgive me just a little bit. But we're gonna get Jimmy unfiltered. Possibly. I did struggle with the first Adam Ewing section, and I almost DNF'd the book. So that actually isn't totally true. But once I got through that,
Yeah.
I was full sail to the ending. And then actually when we returned to Adam, I was like, oh, I love this. And then I went back and read the first section and I was like, I have so much more of appreciation for this. That's After Dark.
I'm gonna need a rating on this. This has to be NC-17.
We haven't. I mean, we said scrotum. I feel like we kept it pretty clinical.
Yeah, we've done pretty well. Pretty well. We keep everything on the rails here
on a Tuesday night, nonetheless.
But by the end, Jimmy, this is what it is for me. By the end, when this whole thing, and you see all these disparate threads of different type of stories that he's just got on a loom, and you don't understand how these colors can even come into the same spectrum. And by the end, they all wrap and make this tapestry, and you see something from the beginning of time to the end of time, and you realize it's you looking back at yourself and your own human experience as a part of this, because you're made up of story as well. You walk away changed and different from that book. I'll never be the same. And for me, a piece of art that impacts me like that goes up on the shelf, right?
Yeah. Like if I had to, keep 10 books on my shelves, Cloud Atlas would be on there. There's really no doubt about it. I mean, it's the front runner for my book of the year this year, and it is undoubtedly one of my favorite books of all time. I just, I don't know about you, John, but I always try to like temper a little bit because I show so much excitement. Like I do get very like worked up and passionate about things. I worry for people running out to go, we got to read Cloud Atlas next month. And it's like,
I will say I didn't get sucked in. I get it. If anyone gets like 10 pages into Sluicious Crossing and go, just not for me, I totally get it. Totally get it. It is not a book that I would go to everyone on the street and go, you need to read this.
Yeah. I try the sample, but that's not really that fair because you're only going to get Adam Ewing, and then you're going to miss out on the amazing crime thriller section, on the post-apocalyptic section. I mean, there's so much there. There's sci-fi,
the Frobisher section, the thriller,
Timothy Cavendish,
the 70s thriller section, like whatever kind of story you like, he's got it in there, right?
I think it's probably a more common experience for someone to walk away with a section of it being awesome for them and then not really liking the book overall. I think that would be plenty of sense, wouldn't it?
I could totally
Dude,
see
Timothy
it.
Cavendish lives rent free in my brain.
Oh, forever, brother. Forever.
So dastardly. I love it.
Yeah.
And Crispin Hershey from Bone Clocks. I mean, he is also just planted in my brain.
See,
forever.
Are those the two you've done?
So I've done Slade House, Bone Clocks, and Cloud Atlas, and I read the first page of Ghost Written the other day, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds good. I also did read the prologue to 1,000 Summers or 1,000
Autumns of Jakob de Zoet.
Yeah, so I read the prologue and I thought it was amazing, but John, I'm in trouble. I recommended it to Alan because it's Japan and he loves Japanese history, but that prologue is absolutely brutal. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't think of something Alan would like less than that prologue. So whenever it comes time I want to read it with him, I'm going to actually make him skip the prologue because it's such a non-Mitchell prologue comparative to his other work. It's so strange.
Yeah. That is true. He's such a chameleon though, man. Like he stretches into so many different shades.
His talent is unmeasurable. In my opinion.
I will say Jakob de Zoet, like you're going to go along and it's like, oh wow, what an interesting love story in this little part of Japan, and this person doing some accounting and trying to figure out this mystery of what's going on, and then all of a sudden it takes like this horrific supernatural turn that you do not see coming at all.
That sounds Mitchell-esque with the right turn, the 90-degree just
and all of that is paying off in Bone Clocks. That turn that happens, it's all paying off in Bone Clocks and Utopia Avenue and this stuff. Like he sets up these characters, and here's what's going on, their human experience in the physical world. And then you got that story, and then down the road, he's starting to, and here's the metaphysical that lays over everything. And he sees things differently.
That's right. David Mitchell took the right amount of drugs. Like that's my theory, is that he just figured out the exact right amount of drugs for him to become a little bit out there, but still
Yeah.
grounded in the human experience where I can understand him. Evie has a great question. She said, "Is it safe to compare Cloud Atlas structurally with Hyperion with its parts and it sounds like variety and genre writing?" I think somewhat, but I think it's a very dangerous comparison because the thread that goes through the line of Cloud Atlas, I mean, it is as thin as it can be, so you can say this is a novel instead of a group of novellas. Like, it is that thin for it to tie together. So I don't feel as confident saying Hyperion, because Hyperion, by the end of it, you see how it all fits together, and you've followed this journey with all these different people, but they're in the same room. Whereas we're talking about generational gaps and time periods, different eras in the world history. So it'd be really hard for me to say they're alike. I would say Cloud Atlas is like a more extreme Hyperion, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that's fair, definitely. Yes. And the language mirrors what time period they're in too. So that,
which could be hard to tackle.
It can make it hard to tackle. So Jimmy, let's move on. All right. This is why I love you so much, dude. Hit me. You know me. I know you. We're like this. I want you to tell me, what book am I not reading that I absolutely should be reading? Because we love the same stuff.
John, you put me on the spot, brother.
You can think for a minute.
Now you read Claire and the Sun, right?
No.
Oh, John.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. You're going to love this. I'm going to reach back into time. You ready for this?
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm reaching back into time. I'm going to pull out my Trapper Keeper.
Oh my God.
Look, with the Velcro, the whole thing.
Ooh.
All right, I got to write this down. Clara and the Sun. This is Ishiguro, right?
Yeah, Ishiguro. I think that this is have you read any from him before?
I don't think I really want to read the giant one, and I can't even think of the whole time.
Actually.
Yeah.
We should read it together sometime. I'm reading
absolutely, yeah.
I'm reading Never Let Me Go with two people in October. But I would love to fit that in early next year if you want to. The Buried Giant is what it's called. It's an Arthurian tale from Ishiguro. But Claire and the Sun is interesting because you're going to get a little bit of that sci-fi element to it, but you're going to get all of the things that Ishiguro does super well, which is taking a POV and trickling in context of the world state. And they'll never tell you exactly what's going on, but by the end of it, everything that you have learned will recontextualize everything that you experience through the eyes of the character at the beginning of the book. So you think you have somewhat of an idea of the picture, but by the end, everything is kind of different. And there's a whole lot of untrustworthy narration from, your unreliable narrator. And I absolutely love it. I think that Claire and the Sun would be a good one for you. You just have to be comfortable with not knowing everything that's going on. Like, there's going to be a lot of time where you're sitting in the think tank, just being like, what's going on in the world right now? Because it's a future Earth. And it's not so far where there's flying cars and shit. That's not a part of this. However, there is some stuff that's drastically different, and you're going to have to sit and think about, the impact of those changes. And I think it's really cool. So it's told from the perspective at the beginning of an AF, which is like an artificial friend, aka kind of like an AI robot that looks human, childlike. And you spend the whole first part of the book in the store, and this person's waiting to be sold. And it's very strange, and then end up getting purchased by Josie, which is a sick girl. We don't know what she's sick with at the time. And her mom purchases the AF, and then off you go. And I thought it was very thought-provoking. I don't think it's his best work, but I specifically think you will enjoy it.
Okay. See, I just watched Joanna read this, and I watched her talk about that.
I read it with her and Murphy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So you were in on that. Okay. Clara and the Sun. I got that down. And Buried Giant. Maybe we'll sync up and we'll do that like close to the beginning of 2025 or something. That'd be awesome.
I'm totally down. I'm 100% down. I not the biggest Arthurian legend person in the world.
Oh, that's my jam. I love it.
I mean, I've enjoyed stuff with it, but it's not something I seek out.
Yeah.
But seeing Ishiguro tackle some sort of like fantasy world will be very, very interesting.
Have you done the Warlord Chronicles with
yes.
Bernard Cornwell? What did you think of that?
I thought it was tremendous, dude. I think the only crime it has is that book 2 is the best book of the trilogy, most likely.
See, I like book 3, man.
Do you?
I love book.
I mean, I like book 3. I think when I finished, I said 2 and 3 were pretty even, but as time has went on, Enemy of God has stood out in my mind more. So maybe I would feel the way I did when I finished if I reread it.
Yeah, for me, it's like I put it on my all-time best fantasy list because I don't care. It's a fantasy. I don't care what people say. I'll die on this hill. It's a fantasy. Like the magic system is the war over what faith is going to. I mean, the paganism is butting up against the new forms of Christianity and what's going to come out on top, and these ways of faith that they define the actual world they live in. Like, there's no way you can tell me, like, up into late into book 2, I'm thinking, I mean, I could explain this. Like, I can, I mean, book 1, it starts like, oh, isn't that cute? They're spitting and turning in counterclockwise circle. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then in book 2, a little bit more is happening. It's like, okay, well, I think I could still explain this. By book 3, look, Merlin's weaving some magic, dude. Like, there's some stuff that goes down in book 3, and you're like, this is, I believe.
Merlin and the Warlord Chronicles would make a top 20 list for me, no doubt. Like, I think Merlin from the Warlord Chronicles is just so entertainingly mean.
Yeah.
He's just constantly calling everyone an idiot. And I love it. Like, to me, that's Merlin. Like, I don't care about any other renditions of Merlin. That's Merlin.
And that's, did you see, yeah, I'm sure you saw John Borman's flick, Excalibur.
Yeah. Wait, a while ago.
When I read that, I saw Nicole Williamson. Like, that's the voice in my head, I
admittedly did listen to the audiobooks, and Keeble just owned it. Like, to me, when I think Warlord, I think Keeble. I also think of a famous clip of Alan on a live stream.
Yeah.
Quoting it. Gwendolyn is a whore. That's so good, dude. It's the best. It's the best booktube clip I've ever seen. It's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. We had a scrotum clip earlier.
Yeah, 2-pack of ass and
scrotum. And yeah, I don't know, man. We might make top 15.
All right. I mean, we're top 5, John. Don't sell.
You know what? Here's the thing. It's my channel. I wasn't going to say that. But if you say it, it's got to be true.
It's law, bro.
It's got to be true. You're Merv, man. Look, Joanna loves Warlord Chronicles. I've yet to meet anyone that doesn't like it. Like, it's a great.
I know some people who don't like it, but those people are squares. So, an L7 weenie.
Yeah, we need to get you more Weller, man.
L7 weenie. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you don't like Warlord, you're kind of butt cheeks. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like the trilogy is the perfect series length.
It's
like,
good.
I love the trilogy.
Wait, do you mean that trilogy, or do you mean the trilogy?
In general, the trilogy.
The structure of the trilogy gets you going.
Doesn't that just feel like I got 3 acts? I can read this in a quarter of a year. I can do one a month. It's like when these get to like, I mean, and I love some, it's like when it gets to like 15, 16, like that's hard. Like I got to set up a base camp, and I got to put time aside, and I got to find a Sherpa to start figuring out how to get up this and get a protractor out for all these characters and figure all this out.
Bro, I can't even spell protractor.
Let me test myself. I haven't had anything to drink, so I bet. No, I'm not even gonna try.
You should try. No, you should try. Right. Stick to the bit.
Should I? Okay. Well,
stick the landing.
If I get this right, okay. Well, you can't see that.
I can't see that.
This is what I did. Because I grew up in a small town in Texas, I put PRO tractor, TRACTOR.
Hey, buddy, I grew up in Southwest PA, West Virginia, Northern West Virginia. We are pro tractor, okay?
Because I grew up pro tractor. I drove one right through my daddy's fence. That's how pro tractor I am.
John Deere, sponsor me.
Yeah, bring it on. Oh, he was so mad at me.
Oh, you did that for real?
Oh, I did that.
Oh, I've never been on a tractor. No.
Jimmy, you ever been on
Do
a
I
horse?
look like I've been on a tractor?
No. Have you ever been on a horse?
I was on a donkey once.
Oh, my dad loved donkeys. He put me on donkeys a lot.
You know, I know I'm gonna upset Evie in the chat, but not a big horse guy. Not a big horse guy myself.
Here's the thing. I have just started Realm of the Elderlings. And I am so in love with Robin Hobb. Like, I've read one book. And
Like her writing or Robin Hobb?
Well, I've never met the woman, but I'm willing to learn to love her the way she should be taken care of because she's so talented. But I meant her writing. But so I've read, but it's again, Farseer trilogy. It's the perfect. It's a 3-act, and then you come back if you want to do something a little more, and I'm sure I will. And then you come back if you want to do something a little more. This is the way it was sold to me, like. It's little chunks. It's little bit. You're not getting in there for 16 or however many books it is.
Now, here I will say, by the way, you're right. The sub-series things helps out tremendously. Do you get worried about the middle book syndrome, or are you accepting of the middle book?
In a trilogy, you mean?
In a trilogy as a structure, yeah.
I mean, okay, if it's done right, I'm always accepting of it because I feel like, I mean, okay, let's look at a great trilogy. Let's look at Star Wars. Your middle chapter is Empire Strikes Back.
Star Wars?
That's a great I mean, the first one. I'm old. I remember seeing it. Like the middle chapter can be great.
I mean, it's the best according to many for Star Wars. I mean,
yeah.
Empire Strikes Back is the best. So here's a question. How about this? Since you're a Star Wars guy.
Enemy of God, middle chapter.
That's a fair point. Very fair. I mean, I think Royal Assassin's the best of the Farseer trilogy as well.
That's what I hear, and that's the second book.
So what is the pitfall that people fall into with middle book syndrome compared to something like Empire Strikes Back? Why does Empire Strikes Back work and, Stone of Farewell by Tab Williams, some people are a little bit lesser on, right? Like what's the difference?
I wonder. It's interesting to me, like, he was obviously doing Joseph Campbell. Like, he was following a recipe. He was, Lucas was baking a cake and using a protractor and measuring everything based on a hero's journey that Joseph Campbell laid down for him. Sometimes I think people try to subvert a little bit, or try to stake out new territory or do something new. And I think that middle chapter where the meat of the story could be, where darkness turns and gets an upper hand, that kind of thing, I think maybe gets a little bit shaky if they don't follow that recipe.
Okay.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah. Now I'm different. So I know plenty of people who don't like Stone of Farewell as much as Dragonbone Chair, but for me, I liked each book more in Memory of Sorrow and Thorn. But
like it just got better as you went.
Yeah, I tend to be a sequel enjoyer for the most part.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if the characters are good, because I just want to get more of them.
Yeah, the one in recent memory, and I hate to bring it up because I love the guy, but Hunger of the Gods, which is the second book after Shadow of the Gods, I did feel like was very middle book syndrome, like very much so.
Really? I haven't got to that one yet. I have it on my I have it on.
Don't trust me. That's not a popular opinion.
Okay.
I just, for me, for some reason, it just the characters didn't kind of expand the way I wanted them to, and I feel like it was a bit long. Whereas like every other book too by John Gwynne, I've liked more than book one, which was kind of interesting. It's probably a me thing more than any. Yeah. Like I really liked Valor over Malice in Faithful and the Fallen, and then I can't remember
which you think is a better series, Faithful and Fallen, or what you've read so far of the Bloodsworn. And I know book 3 hadn't come out yet.
Bloodsworn's better written, but I like Faithful and the Fallen for the heart and the Fountain family quite a bit. I like, so John Gwynne is like one of those people, like I'm not going to say that his writing inspires me on the level of someone like let's just say like Erickson, for example. But the thing that John Gwynne does get me to do is kind of forget about all those things and just really enjoy the story and kind of go along with it. And I kind of forget about looking at the writing so much. I kind of forget about the length of the book. I'm just in it, and I enjoy it for that. And there's value in that, I think.
Oh man, absolutely.
Yeah, and I felt moments in Faithful and Fallen in my heart, and I feel like a lot of people, because it was super duper hyped on book 2 for a long time, a lot of people went into it with like really high expectations. They came out of being like, it's just kind of like, it's epic fantasy. It's whatever. But I don't know. For me, it really resonated with me. Brent called me out, by the way. And
what did Brent say? I missed it.
I mean, he got me. He absolutely lasered me. He said, Jimmy, a sequel enjoyer who has read 300 book ones in a row. I am drowning in series. It's actually upsetting.
Oh man, someone was telling me I should count. I refuse. I don't want to. I don't want to know, man.
John, I was at 37 last year. I'm well over 60 at this point. Like,
you've got to be. That's because everyone writes them. Like nobody brings out standalones. I mean, rarely.
Well, the Patreon picks what gets me in trouble, bro. It's like 12 times a year.
Same.
Every single time. And I'm not complaining because, that's just how I find new books and I actually love it. But there's
I love it too. A lot of times they're my book of the month. Like they never fail to get it right with me.
A book one has to be like an absolute slam dunk for me to auto continue, like just immediately. And then the last time I can think of, and someone can correct me because it's been a while. The last time I think that happened to me was the sequels from R. Scott Baker. When I read Aspect Emperor, I read Judging Eye, and I was like, no, nothing is coming in the way of this. Like, I'm reading all this. Oh, really? Dude. Yeah, it's the last time I was like truly captivated by a series, like without all attention on it, knowing that in the moment I was reading something like anything else, and that when I was done, I would feel a void. That was the last time.
So you knew the hangover was coming. Like you knew when this is wrapped up.
Yeah. I think the other one that since then, but it did not have it. It's not like as closely tied was the Baslag series by China Miéville, but those books are kind of standalones. Like they're in the same world.
Like you can take some time between them.
Yeah, so I didn't feel that need, but I also did feel when I closed the last page on Iron Council, I was like, man, I wish China Miéville would return to this world so very much.
He's too busy, man. He's got Keanu Reeves on his dance card now.
Hey, there's a 1,000-page book that he has.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Independent of Reeves. He supposedly has a 1,000-page book that he's considering his magnum opus or something.
Really?
In fiction. We're not going to get another French art revolution nonfiction from China Miéville. Thank God. But yeah, supposedly he's working on did work on a massive fiction book. So please be a Baslag novel. Please be a Baslag novel. Please be the Scar sequel.
I mean, China Miéville is quite a talented writer. Like his sentence structure. I mean, his prose I find thought provoking. Not even what he's talking about. I
agree.
Yeah,
and it also just happens that his writing is about something that is super duper cool and completely unique in the way of fantasy. I tell people all the time that like Adrian Tchaikovsky, I'm like, you should read China Miéville because like if there's ever been anyone that's been influenced by him, it has to be Adrian.
I could see that. I mean, for me, I say all the time, it's like for me, Perdido Street Station is like one of the most interesting meditations on otherness since Kafka's Metamorphosis. It's like
man.
It's I've never read anything quite like it.
Yeah, it's completely unique and still feels somewhat familiar in a weird way. I think Perdido does suffer from like some choppiness, like it's a little messy, but the Scar to me is like one of the best books I've ever, like it's just a perfect book in many ways. Tom Warren said so far the Book of Elsewhere is a massive dud for me. Tom, do not judge China Miéville off of that book. I've heard mostly mixed negative things about it.
Picked it up. I read that. I'm trying to get through the comics first before I get to it.
You're reading all the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I love comics. I love comics.
I'm kind of staying away from it because Miéville's just, he's what 4 for 4 with me or 4 for 4 with me. I don't really want to. I know this is like a joint venture kind of experimental thing.
Yeah.
I will probably read it. I think I own it. I'm pretty sure I own it, but I'm not going to jump to read it.
Yeah, you're not going to jump at it. I mean, Aspect Emperor there or Prince of Nothing, that's one of those I have lined up for next year too. Like, here's the thing. Like, I've spent so many years reading, scripts, and when I could read a book for fun, it was probably horror, maybe sci-fi. I didn't do a lot of fantasy. Of course, George R.R. Martin got through. I did all that. But,
That's my boy.
That's my number one. That's my number one on my list. Like, that's,
John, you're so awesome.
Like he's, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know if that'll ever be dethroned. And people get on me all the time. Well, he'll never finish it. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I want the iPhones with the more GBs. I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Venus de Milo's never going to have arms either, but I can still look at that and go, well, that's beautiful. I mean, the time I spent in that world, what he did create, what he has constructed, for me, is the top of the mountain for epic fantasy.
Yes, and on top of that,
I've read.
A hell of an author outside of that as well. I mean, this is a guy
absolutely.
who didn't just work on one thing. He had success in multiple genres, but also different mediums of writing television.
Oh, he did a lot of television. Brought the Twilight Zone back. All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And a real reader's author. I mean, like the guy wears his influences on his sleeve, which I love, and he's so forthcoming with people who inspired him. And you know, how could you root against? You know, this is a kid that grew up in the projects after his family owned a dock. They owned the complete dockside in New York, I believe it was. And the Great Depression, they lost everything and they had to move into the projects in I think it was Brooklyn. Someone can check me on that. And then just started selling comics for a penny to his friends that he was writing. And he was writing into Stan Lee, and Stan Lee puts his note in Marvel magazine and responds to him. And that kicks off. I mean, it's an American's dream right there, man. It's a story.
You know what? That's so awesome. And now look at him. He's the top, owns his own theater.
Yeah.
You know, like that was my thing. Like, oh man, the guy hit it big, and then what does he do? He buys a theater and has film festivals. I can totally relate to that.
And fought his township because he wanted to build a moat around his home with a drawbridge. And they were like, no. And he was like, what do you mean? I thought this is America.
I thought. We're allowed moats in America?
I thought so, but apparently not in New Mexico.
That's expression. That's expression, baby.
I agree. He also just like loves barges and I mean, he's just, you know, he's one of us. Have you seen the man? I love him. I love him.
I dig his work. I dig him. Yeah. You know, and I liked him. I remember when I read Fever Dream when it first came out, because I was a horror freak, you know. Yeah. And it's like vampires on a steamboat. Where do I get this? Like I've been digging on George Martin for the Tufts book. Have you read the Tufts
Tough
book?
Voyaging? I have not read it, but it has the best cover of all time. Oh, I'm going to.
It's good. It's fun. It is so much fun.
He's one of those people. So I've read a lot of his short fiction, but like, there's only so many novels he's written. I don't know if we'll ever get any more. And like, I almost like want to have them to read. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there is this sense of like wanting to be a completionist, but there's also the sense that in like 10 years, you know, maybe I'm down on my luck or something. I can just pull out Windhaven by him and Lisa Tuttle and read it, or Tough Voyaging or Armageddon Rag or something like that. Like I almost don't want it to be over. You know what I'm saying?
Did you ever read any of all the wild card stuff that he did?
I own the first one, and I have heard from multiple people that the first like 5 or 6 are amazing. Like I think Hobb has written for him, Daniel Abraham has written in them, like big name authors, but also George used to write in it. Yeah. And supposedly they're very entertaining. At some point they kind of get a little out there and like,
they wander far afield. But as a comic book geek, like what they were in the beginning, and here's George R.R. Martin doing kind of, I think it was a creative writing class, and it started out with a lot of his students, and they co-created this universe. Yeah. And each of his students took created a character in this world and created like a comics universe in this world that is an alternate history that takes place. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but it's amazing. If you love comics, and him just giving a chance to his students to create and go crazy, and he edited it and put it all together and made it cohesive, like it kind of tells a novel. It's a mosaic novel. It kind of tells an overarching story all the way from beginning to end, with all of his students bringing in a different character and different pieces of the puzzle, and then he puts it all together. Like I would say the first 5 to 6 are like great.
Yeah, like I've seen people I really respect. Iskar Jarak, who used to do a lot of Malazan content back in the day. Hope you're doing good, Sarge. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he loves the first few wild cards. He's like, dude, they're like 5-star reads for me. And it is not a stretch to say the biggest influence on George R.R. Martin is not Roger Zelazny. It's not Tad Williams, but it's actually Stan Lee for sure.
Yeah.
Because if Stan Lee hadn't written him back, we may have never saw him write. So
That's wow, that's very true. 1 point for comics.
yeah, man. I'm not a huge comic fan, but I have an immense amount of respect for the medium.
It's so great. I just love it so much. It's that storytelling. It's collaborative. It's that medium that's collaborative and it's on paper. Normally, for a storytelling collaborative thing, you've got to get into like film or television or something like that.
Yeah.
Or live theater, where you get your directors and your designers and your actors But like this, when you bring together your writers and your letterers and your artists and your inkers and your colorists and it's like it's going back to that tradition all the way back to when we did heroic hunts on a cave wall, telling something in a line of pictographs, and it's like it's just so pure. And when it hits just right, and they just start to become film, they just start to move because you're filling in that gutter space, that white space between the panels. You start to fill in, your mind starts to fill in, and you understand you're creating along with this piece of art. Like nothing quite hits when it works really well.
Yeah,
that way.
The collaborative thing is interesting because I've always found that I think I would be more motivated to write if it was a collaborative effort. I think I like knowing that there's someone else there to bounce off of and also to like hold you accountable. I've always thought like a collaborative writing project would be really neat.
Being close to finishing one, it was amazing. It's been awesome.
Was it easy? So who did you collab with?
It was, we kind of did, I thought I told you the story. We did, during, when we all had to scurry to our homes and lock the doors and stuff for a good while.
Yes, I'm remembering this now.
Yeah. My kid came home from school and he was bummed out. And he, you remember now.
Yes, I do.
So we're wrapping up on his idea. And me, my wife, and him kind of all wrote something together.
What was the biggest challenge for that?
Making it work.
Just the three different minds and ideas.
Three different minds making it work. Yeah. I would say that was by far the plotting it to where that's cohesive. Oh yeah, no. If we have it planned, I think to 5 books.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. You were just complaining about not enough standalones, and now you're perpetuating the problem, John.
I'm part of the problem.
You are part of the problem at this point.
No, maybe it's 4 books, and it's not even a trilogy, which is what I love. I was trying to root for a trilogy, but it got so sprawling, I don't think we could do it. I was looking at Dennis earlier. He wants to write trilogies, and he ended up with 4 books his first time too. So
hey, Tad is famous for his 4-book trilogies.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite endorsements.
It's amazing. It's the only way I could do it, Jimmy, because I'm so used to, like, if I don't have a bunch of people waiting down there and a director waiting for me and everything, I'm not getting off the couch.
Yeah, I can understand that, though. Like, I value letting, like, I never want to let anyone down. I let myself down every day. I'm going to eat an ice cream after this. I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to eat an Oreo ice cream bar after this.
At this time of night?
I'm going to pay for it. Like I said, I let myself down constantly, John. However, if it comes to letting someone else down, I will do anything to not let that happen.
Same. Like if somebody's waiting, like, I got to get these pages in, I better find the time. If it was just me, like I was just writing and it was just me to find the chair, it's like, dude, there's always something good on Netflix. Why do I got to write something? This is pretty good right here.
That's exactly how I feel about writing, is just that every time I go to write, I'm like, or I could read. And another thing is in my life, I've always been a doer, and I've just kind of enjoyed not being a doer in this thing. I guess I am still doing, right? Like I have a channel and stuff.
Yeah, but it's like you started loving story with like, and that I so connected with that because I remember having all my action figures, and the way I would get blood on them is I would stay up late at night. All my parents were, my family was asleep, and I would get my red crayon and melt it against the nightlight and then drip it on them.
Yeah, man, that's what I did. Yes, absolutely did.
So you started with story. I'm shocked you haven't written something.
I have. I wrote a short story a couple years ago. It wasn't very good, but it was just me wanting to write a story from start to finish because I think finishing is a skill, and I wanted to do it. And honestly,
it's huge.
I had a lot of fun. I did 400 words a day. I said, if I do 400 words a day, it's a short story. Maybe it could be stretched into a novella, possibly. I'm obsessed with writing short fiction. I think short fiction, John. I mean this. Okay, I think short
No,
fiction.
I'm about to agree with you yet again.
It's the most undervalued thing in our corner of booktube, without a doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Short fiction is where the best writers live, in my opinion. I think that people who are able to get the maximum amount of potential out of the least amount of words are the people that I'm always the most impressed with. And there's also just something about telling a complete story in a restricted time space or word count that I find to be fascinating. And I'm always impressed. Like Leo Tolstoy is phenomenal, and I have read all of his short fiction at this point. And I like Anna Karenina. I love The Death of Ivan Ilyich, which is still kind of short fiction. But I mean, his short fiction is just astounding to me.
Yeah, dude, come on. I was just talking to Andrew about this. Charles Beaumont, Richard Matheson, Ray Bradbury, Joe Hill, Stephen King, like the people that can get in there with a quick hit and have the control and give you those ups and those downs and those full character arcs in like 20 to 25, 15, 10 pages. And it's an achievement. It's huge.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel the same way, honestly, a lot of aspects about like the novel. Like when people are able to do something in 200 to 300 pages, and maybe it's because we're fantasy readers and we read so many tomes, but I'm always just blown away whenever I end up closing the page on a 200 to 300 page book. And I feel so satisfied and satiated. I'm just like, wow, that person has so much talent. Yeah. By today's standards, 300 pages is a short story. I do feel like it's kind of trending a little bit backwards now.
I think it's going back the other way. It seems like publishers, fine. Yeah. I mean, I think these things ebb and flow, and the pendulum will go one way, and then, this particularly now, and tell me how you feel about this, Jimmy, is I think particularly now with such a vibrant indie movement, but we're not lacking for material. I mean, whatever, if you want something longer, we're not lacking for material, and good material.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's something for everybody at this point. I mean, there's still stuff that I'm finding out about. So Mage's Blood, Andy Smith, famous booktuber, not really, but like famous to me because he started around whenever I did. He came out of hiding and posted this review for Mage's Blood, which is the Moontide Quartet by David Hare. And of course, it has like a 3.6 on Goodreads or something like that.
Yeah.
And this series sounds phenomenal. And I'm like, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Okay.
What is it? What's it called again?
It's called Mage's. The book is called Mage's Blood by David Hare, like the hair on your head. And it's part of the Moontide Quartet. And it is just, first off, the premise sounds awesome. And, hey, Alan's in the chat, which is great. Andy's review is phenomenal. Alan, John is dying to talk to you, bro.
I've never met Alan. Oh my God, I would love to meet Alan. Alan, it cracks me up.
He's the GOAT. He's my best friend. Devices and Desires by KJ.
I don't think Alan agrees with you.
Jimmy, legit, every person hates past Mage's Blood. Oh, they don't like anything past it.
Oh, okay. Well,
you know what? I'm still willing to give it a try. But Devices and Desires.
Sarah Beth loves David Hare.
There we go.
There we go.
I am definitely interested in Device and Desires, though, by KJ Parker. That's one that's been etching up my TBR slowly but surely. But it's so long.
Alan loves those too, right? I haven't read any KJ Parker.
All right, I'll tell you where to start. Don't listen to Alan. He doesn't know anything.
What is
the only KJ Parker I've read, which makes it. Oh no, I'm sorry,
dude. This is a huge night for me. Like this is a huge night. Like I've got.
He literally was talking about this before.
I swear to God, dude. Before we went, there's certain like watermarks. Like I'm a booktuber. Like I'm going to call this as officially meeting Alan. I'm going to let the pigeons loose on it and say I'm a real boy. I'm a booktuber because I got to meet Alan. I'm calling it. Real boy. I'm calling it. The blue fairy touched me and brought Alan to the chat. Come on.
I'm a connector. I'm a bridge builder, as they say.
That's what you are. That's
right.
Exactly what you are.
That's all I ever wanted to be, man.
You know what? People say that about you. They say he's got that boyish charm and he's got the, the intellect and the perfect physicality and a bridge maker.
A bridge maker.
A bridge maker.
Building bridges, one booktuber at a time, dude.
That's right.
You should read the Folding Knife by KJ Parker. One, you would get on Alan's good list, but two, it is one of the best characters I've read. Basso is a genius, and he's written like a genius.
Okay.
He's very smart. Yeah.
Okay.
You would love it.
What is this?
I am like Sasquatch.
I'm nowhere except in see Jimmy once every other. That's like it is like it's like that film. When he comes across.
It's him! It's him!
It's him! Get the camera! Get the camera!
Fun fact: Alan does have hairy feet.
Yes, Joanna. I know she connected me with Murphy.
Hey, listen, Joanna, you can't just come in here and steal my thunder. This is my time to shine. Okay? You get all the shine. Let me have this moment, Joanna.
Let me tell you, one of those high water marks for me was when I was on Why We Read. I was actually on Why We Read, and it's like, wow, okay. I can. Yeah. That was a biggie.
Yeah, Why Read, actually, that's where I met Murphy. Joanna paired me up with her, and now me and Murphy have become great friends. Yeah, and met, and she's friends with my wife and everything else. So I do have to give Joanna some credit for that.
Joanna, she needs so much credit. Joanna, let's talk about what Joanna is a booktube. She put out a video. This is how good her videos are. The freaking wildlife started coming up from the backyard to hang out with her. It was like a musical number from the animated Snow White. It was unbelievable.
Joanna just has that. She has that voice.
She is the Snow White of booktube.
A Snow White of booktube.
That's exactly what she is.
Interesting. I kind of like that. I'd have to reread Snow White to make sure there's no like problematic themes in it, but you know, some of those older stories haven't aged super well.
Yeah. I mean, we might want to stay away from that. She didn't even know the deer stole the show until edit. Like it was amazing. Like I'm watching the whole video and it's like, deer. Yeah, Joanna is an elf. She's an assassin elf.
This is true. I have heard this many times before. John, I'm so happy that you like short fiction, though. That makes me very happy.
My
Stephen
God,
King
dude.
Short fiction. I love Stephen King short fiction. Night Shift.
What are your favorite? Give me like 3 of your favorite collections. I can do 3 of my favorite collections right now. Like that's how much I love short
Night
fiction.
Shift, Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. And then The Death of Ivan Illich and Other Stories by Penguin Classics. I think it's the second one they published by Leo Tolstoy. And those are not really close. I mean, the number one, I haven't finished it, so I can't say it's number one, but the number one is going to be Gurm, a Retrospective, which was a Subterranean Press exclusive release of all of his short fiction where he narrates his life during it. However, they also released it in mass market called Dream Songs, Volume 1 and 2. So if you're interested in it, you should go read it. It's the exact same book. It just has a different title. Dude, the book is this big.
Oh my
that
gosh.
I have. I wish I had it. But it has literally every single short fiction he ever wrote. A lot of horror. As a horror fan, it did not just begin and end with Fever Dream. He wrote a lot of horror, and he does such a nice job with sci-fi mixed with horror as well. But I really love that.
Sand Kings.
Come on,
man. Sand Kings is the goods.
It is definitely my favorite non Song of Ice and Fire thing that he's done. I mean, it's just as good in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna go. You ready? I'm gonna go 3 collections.
All right, let me hear it.
I gotta put some thought. Yours, where I will say right away, yours is more erudite than mine. But I'm gonna go.
I don't know what that means.
Well, you just blew that. You just blew that compliment, Jimmy. All right, I'm gonna go. Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury.
Okay.
Welcome to the Monkey House by Kurt Vonnegut.
I'm reading that currently.
Oh, that has one of my all-time. Who Am I This Time? One of my all-time favorite stories of all time. And then let's just say 20th Century Ghosts by Joe Hill. Those 3 collections I would put up there.
I have not read a single thing by Joe Hill or Ray Bradbury, and I feel like I'm incorrect for that.
Oh, you should read. I'm telling you, 20th Century Ghosts is an amazing collection. And there's Ray Bradbury. There is so much like Ray Bradbury. Like, oh my gosh, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Dandelion Wine. Illustrated Man. Oh, Illustrated Man is a phenomenal collection.
Something Wicked That Comes This Way, or I hope I got that
Something
title.
Wicked This Way Comes. Yeah.
Yeah, This Way Come. I have it, and I actually planned on reading it last year. I just ran out of time in October. I don't know if I'll get to it this year, though.
Oh, it's a great time for October's the perfect time to read that.
Yeah, I was gonna read The Shining, though.
That's a really good one too.
Can't go wrong. But I've read a lot of King, so maybe I should sub him out.
What would you say your favorite King is? Love King. King's my guy.
Ooh,
That's because it's awesome, Joanna.
Ooh, honestly, that's a really tough question for me. I have not read nearly as many Stephen King books as I've watched adaptations of like Lawnmower Man, which is from Night Shift.
Oh yeah.
But for me, it is. I'm contemplating between Pet Cemetery and 11/22/63. I think 11/22/63 as like
that is such a good one.
Is probably it. But Pet Cemetery affected me in such a visceral way.
Yeah.
That like I was listening to the audiobook and like walking during the fall. I mean, it was just so atmospheric. But I mean, it brought me to tears as I was walking out in public. People were like looking at me like, "What's wrong? Did he get broken up with? Like, what's going on over there?" But Pet Cemetery is just so raw and real. Whereas 11/22/63, I think, deals with more things. Like it's a wider in scope.
Yeah.
But man, Pet Cemetery is effective.
Yeah, Pet Cemetery, it does have that emotion. Here's the thing with me of Pet Cemetery. Like I've told Mike this is like I know it's so many people's favorite, and I didn't put it on my favorite list. So many people go, where's Pet Cemetery? I've been reading Stephen King since I was like, I think I was like a freshman, maybe before in high school, right? And I read Pet Cemetery so young. I got none of what he was laying down.
I see. Yeah.
Like, this is my heart walking on the outside. And I mean, all this kind of stuff that, I mean, now I would probably be a puddle on the floor. But at that point, I just wanted the scares, baby. Give me the scares. And, you know, the big bad the big bad at the end was like, I could punt that thing across the room. I'm not scared by that.
See, I thought it was a little creepy, actually. It actually got me a little bit.
It probably would tear me up now. But at that point, it didn't hit me right. I was just looking for the scares. So that's one I got to redo. I bet I did not pick up on any of the themes of grief and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, grief is the overwhelming theme in that book. And, you know, I don't even have children, but it still affected me greatly. I mean, I thought it was just so well written and definitely one of the darker books that I've read.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. See, Joanna knows what I'm saying. It'll definitely hit differently now. It's psychologically nightmarish. Mm-hmm. So it's our let me just pry. Are kids something you're looking into someday in the far-flung future, Jimmy? Or just you can't be tied down, man. You can't be pinned down.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? I like not having to stress out terribly about money, which kids will do. But also, I think I'd be a fairly poor dad. Like, I don't think I'd be.
Why would you say that?
I'm very selfish, I guess. At least I see myself that way. I don't know. I just don't think I'd be a very good dad.
Man, I did. You know what? You. I don't think you can get a good barometer on that that's one of those things until it actually happens to you, you can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like I don't know if there's a way to prepare for that type of thing. I like the idea. Like there's moments where I have noticed this.
I think Alan gets it right on the head here.
Oh yeah, he's in the thick of it right now.
Yeah, he is in the thick of it.
I feel I've never been one of those people that's like, oh, I've always wanted to have kids. Like in my head, honestly, I was never going to be married, never have kids. They weren't in the cards, but you know, I obviously proved one of those things wrong. But it was never like, oh, it's a foregone conclusion. But sometimes when I read about kids in books, I get this weird feeling, and I'm like, oh, maybe I do want kids. Like maybe that is something that I want. Who knows? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good enough reason to pop out a couple spawns of Jimmy, but who knows? Gosh, maybe one day.
This world would be such a richer place with spawns of Jimmy.
You think? There's a lot of mental health issues in my family. I don't know if it would go well.
Oh, yeah. No, it absolutely would. It absolutely would.
I do like the idea of like force feeding a TBR to my child. Like that sounds interesting.
And you know, hit him. Oh, when Jacob was so young, all of his picture books were like Spider-Man and Hulk and stuff like this. And we read them to him so many times, he had them memorized. So he could then turn the pages and quote them back to us.
Whoa.
And then when he hit school, he was crushed because he thought he knew how to read. Because he had memorized all of these books that we had.
I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's pretty impressive. Yolanda from StoryTube, I'm going to tell her story. I should let her tell it sometime. But she said that I think it was her and her mom used to like do quizzes about the Harry Potter books. And they would like be like, on what page does Harry say this? And they were able to pick the line on the page number.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine being that bright?
That's great. That's like people, you could like, hey, okay, what was this number of the 1950 Chicago Bears who played linebacker? And then people know that's astounding to me. That's like a David Copperfield magic act.
Yeah, for me, that's like early 2000s NBA. Very strange, but like.
Really?
Yeah, like, now I'm sure there's people who know more than me, but for the longest time, that's been like my useless information. Obviously, I have a ton of wrestling knowledge too from back in the day. But
well, you actually got to meet Wahoo McDaniels?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jim!
I don't remember him being overtly friendly, but
probably not.
Yeah,
he never struck me as he didn't ever struck me as look. My son definitely has whole books memorized. Yeah, make sure they understand. Yeah, I can hear his voice to this day, quoting those books. It's such a ride, Jimmy. It's and I was the same, man. I remember having the same talk with my wife. Like, you know what? We're building a theater company. This could be our kid. I have no problem. I'm all about the art. It's not something I need, and not something I have to have. And it'll up in your entire life and redefine who you are to yourself.
Well, it's clearly worked out for you because you have an amazing co-producer of Talking Stories. Set you up pretty well.
I mean, he takes such good care of me. Like
I love that.
It's astounding to me. Like a lot of times I feel like, kid, I'm okay. I'm not in a rocking chair yet. I'm all right, But he none of this would exist. He's done all of this for me, and it's been so life-changing that it's hard for me to even put into words. Like
that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, like I don't know where I would be. I think, look, Spawn and Jimmy, you bring them down here to Uncle John when we do barbecues. When you come down to North Carolina, you and Kel, you bring the spawns of Kel and Jimmy, and we will spoil them rotten down here.
I mean, I would absolutely do that. And people need to prepare because there is going to be a time where me and you are out there next to the smoker just talking about short fiction and David Mitchell and the greatest hits.
Oh man, it's good. I can't wait for it to happen. I cannot wait for it to happen. I don't have any bourbon. I'm not a bourbon guy, but I'm going to pour some Irish whiskey and we're going to stand by the smoker.
Look at that meat. That meat's pretty good right now.
That's a thing too. Have you started smoking meat, or you're not that old yet? You hit a certain age, you have to start smoking meat, or they come and take you away.
Nope, just weed at this point.
Well, that's that age thing.
I actually don't smoke anything because my lungs are very weak. Actually, Alan said, "So help me, Jimmy, if you visit John before you come visit me."
Look, it can be out. Look. This is on the way to Florida. You come down, you hit us both.
I've been trying to get Alan to visit me for 4 years, and his best friend in his life lives 15 minutes from me. And hasn't come and visited me yet. Actually, I need to go out. I'm actually trying to steal his best friend. That's actually something I've been working on for a while. And
oh my God, his head would spin all the way around. If you successfully stole Alan's best friend, that would be must-watch TV. We would all tune in for that tirade.
I want to bring him down to his foundations and rebuild him. I want to watch the crumbling of a man before my very eyes. I last chatting with Nuts, I tried to convince him to delete his channel on the stream.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I was
Why
trying
would
to
you do that.
I was trying to get him to open up Studio, share his screen, and like walk him through it. Yeah. I teach young minds, Jimmy.
No, Alan. You expand young minds, my friend.
He tries his best, but man, there's something in the water down in Florida. They just can't. They just can't.
I'm deleting my channel right now as we speak.
You're in my note, Jimmy. I'm the 13th reason or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my God. I swear to God, the second I get to talk to Alan, it's gonna be a special.
It'll be an
day
all
for me.
timer.
He is hilarious. That
he
dude
loves
is
theater, by the
absolutely
way.
hilarious.
Loves theater.
I know. Well, isn't this him performing something?
He does solo performances.
Of.
I can't remember the play name. He'll have to remind you. But
Alan, you got to hit us up, man.
I'm not a play connoisseur, but I actually watched the whole thing on YouTube, and it was so impressive that one person could memorize all of those lines. It was insane.
Oh, look at this, dude. We're making a love connection right now. This is going to happen. The Iliad.
The 1 man show of the Iliad. Yeah, there you go.
Oh my good God. Okay. No, if he comes on Talking with Tuber, I'm just gonna say 1, 2, 3, go. I want to see the Iliad. I'll just sit back and watch that.
And he'll do it.
I'll get some jujubes. I'll get some junior mints. It'll be amazing.
The thing I like most about you and Alan, you guys share this ability, is that when I lob something up, I know you're gonna hit it. Like I never have to worry about a bit falling because I'm like you're gonna nail it. And you and Alan both have that, and I bet it's the theater background. If I had to guess,
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be why Alan just crap. I have yet to see Alan on a video, and I watch it quite a bit of on somebody's channel of his, and he makes me laugh every time.
Yes,
it never fails.
Alan,
and he was one of the people. He doesn't even know this. He was my whole journey into indie self pub. He was one of the people that reviewed Wickwire Watch, and I was like, you know what? I got to get into it. I got to read it. And he was one of the reasons why I picked up my first indie read.
And your thoughts on Wickwire Watch?
Oh, it's one of my favorite indie series out there.
Now it's a series. I don't like that. They couldn't leave it at 1.
No, well, it was never supposed to be 1. It was never supposed to be 1. I'm reading book 3 next month.
There's already 3 of them?
Oh, there's already 4 of them.
What?
It's
that
supposed
book, wasn't it last year? SPF?
No. It was Wickwire was that was last year. But
bro, that's a lot of books in a short amount of time. What is going on?
Dude, it's so much fun.
I demand for PED steroid testing on writers. These people are like Ryan Cahill's pumping out 3,000.
Dude, Ryan Cahill, like I just read War and Ruin, which
isn't it? Yeah, it's like 1,400 pages or something. Madness.
First of all, I pulled a hammy just lugging the frickin' book around. Like I had to go down to Walgreens and buy a truss, and they were like, "You're not that old." And it's like, no, but I'm starting Ryan Cahill's 3rd full book, so it's like this is what happens. I need this, and I need some other things. I need this pill organizer Monday through Friday, daytime and nighttime, and I need the truss and possibly a knee brace because I'm just taking on fluid from carrying this frickin' book around.
Oh my goodness gracious! I mean, I don't know, man. The productivity of some authors is just like out of this world. You know,
it's astounding, man. It really is astounding. This is a great book, though. You might like it's got a Gaslamp Dickensian vibe. It's got good mysteries. It all revolves around this pivotal point in their history where everything changes and the status quo will no longer hold. Who really did what? You can't really trust anybody. Even the main protagonist, you're like, okay, wait a minute, I don't really trust this guy either. It's like, the world building is exceptional. Then she layers in this nice bit of horror through it that I really dug. Like, like the Ghost of Marley type of stuff, but juiced up a little bit more. It is fun, good stuff.
That sounds interesting. I'm starting to really enjoy a good like mystery in / crime. I'm not all that well versed in any of it. You know, I would never.
Me neither. I hear Dennis Lehane is the way to go.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I started with no, I shouldn't say started, but I just picked up Tana French's book, The Searcher.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. The funny thing about it, though, not a great mystery book, not a very good crime book. Great book though.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's really not about the crime and the mystery. It's more about like
The
what's
people?
going on. Yeah, the
Yeah.
people and in the area. And I just finished it today. And there's a second one. And my first thing I said, I'm not reading book 2 because everyone says book 1's a standalone. Like you can just read book 1. I went ahead and bought book 2. I'm going to read book 2. Tana French is a hell of a writer, like very good.
Okay,
writer.
I got to write this one down too. What's the first book?
The Searcher, and you can read it as a standalone, and it's about
Okay.
a Chicago police officer that retires to the West End of Ireland and then ends up getting caught up with a young child whose brother has went missing.
Oh, and it's in Ireland, is it?
It's in Ireland, and I just got back from Ireland, so I bought it in Ireland because Carlos from StoryTube was like, "Bro," he's like, "Read this," and he told me, he said the mystery's not great. He said, "Don't worry about the mystery, just experience it." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And there's pub scenes and stuff. It's just very authentic.
What did you think of Ireland?
Tremendous.
Oh my God! Right, trip of a lifetime. Right.
I looked at immigration laws immediately. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I made the deal with for her 40th. I took her to Paris with the deal for my 50th. I'm going to Ireland. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And it's like, she had friends there that we got to hang out in pubs with, and they knew just the pubs to take us to. And it's like when we were setting the trip up before we went, she's like, "Well, we'll have to go on this night because it's when they read the notices." I'm like, "What do you mean when they read the notices? What do they read? Oh, the death notices. It's you get to a pint and then they read all the notices and then you find out who died."
So cool.
Why would you do that? Why is that entertaining? And how else would you know who died?
I love it so much, dude.
Oh my God, it was phenomenal. It was the best trip I've ever had.
I was blown away by how relevant and populated bookstores were. It was insane, John. Like no Barnes and Noble. I know that there's a Waterstone adjacent place there, kind of, but like so many independent bookstores that had customers in it that are thriving.
Yes.
Every other street, I felt like I saw a bookstore with people in it, and I bought books from 4 or 5 of them. I had a phenomenal time. And they care about the arts there a lot.
It is such a deep, ingrained history of storytelling.
Yeah, that's right.
Literature, verbal, like just storytelling in general. It is. Oh God, did you see Cliffs of Moher and
I did not go to Cliffs of Moher, so I stayed in about an hour and a half radius with Dublin because I actually went over there to spend most of my time with StoryTube. They're in Dublin. So I had a great time there. And a lot of people say, "Oh, don't go to Dublin. Don't spend more than a day in Dublin."
I had a great time in Dublin. I had the most fun in Dublin.
Bro, I had a phenomenal time. Being there with someone who lives there, it's a totally different experience. And they still took us plenty of places. I went up to not in Belfast, but near Belfast because I did a Game of Thrones tour, which was phenomenal. And I did the most cliche thing of all time, dude. You know what I did? I read The Dubliners in my hotel room. Yeah. So the fun fact, actually, Carlos and Yolanda work at the bookstore that's mentioned in Ulysses by James Joyce. It's still there to this day, and they work there. And I bought Dubliners from that bookshop with a picture of the bookshop on the front. So pretty cool.
What a moment. Like, what a cool thing to have on your shelf, right?
A bit surreal. And honestly, I don't like Ulysses, but I do like Dubliners. Those short stories are pretty good.
Really?
I get way more digestible than Ulysses. I thought Ulysses was not great. I did not like it. Dubliners though, very good.
Yeah, we tried to spend a lot more time out, and we did hit Dublin because that's where her friends live. But then we rented a car and we tried to spend a lot more time out in the in the wilds and just out there seeing the country and stuff.
I'm going to go back hopefully soon and then spend some time out on the west side as well. And it's just a country that I really vibed with. Did touristy things, but also got to kind of see how someone's life.
My best memories of just hanging out with people, man. Just like
what it
meeting
is.
People.
Secondary spaces are still a thing in Ireland. Secondary spaces outside of the home.
Yes.
Those really don't exist much in America anymore. Bowling alleys and stuff. I don't know if you've seen the price of a bowling alley. It's expensive. I mean, everything, sitting in a coffee shop too long, you start to get some looks or whatever it might be. They still exist, but they're far less than they used to be. And it's kind of what I realized about the pub scene in Ireland, that because I'm not a big drinker, but I was like, oh, okay. but once you get in there, you realize that it's a secondary space where people spend time and it's community, and it's really important.
The community square is still very important.
Yeah,
Still
I went
very,
to
very important.
Gravediggers, which is connected to a cemetery, and they don't wash the glasses there, so you can get your Guinness perfectly pure, and they use scalding hot water to wash the glasses. Best pint of beer I've ever had. Tremendous, dude.
But that, you know what? That's why we're so lucky we have this. This is our town square. This is where we get to hang with the people and talk books, and it's been so life-changing for me. And we've been going for coming up on 2 hours, Jimmy, so I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to cut it off. I want to thank absolutely everybody in the chat that has been amazing and hanging out with us. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody that comes on replay and checks this out. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to come and check out Jimmy because he is Merv, Johnny,
Conan.
and Dave all wrapped up in Conan. If you want Conan, you can have Conan. I'll give
you. You know what I like about Conan? I like how physical he is.
He is a great physical comedy. He's got that body, and he knows how to use that instrument, man.
That's one of the things I lack because of the medium in which I do this, being online. I wish there was ways to be more physical, because Conan's physical comedy has always landed with me. I love it.
Yeah. Oh,
but thank you, John. Stuff. That was very kind of you.
Oh, man, it absolutely meant for all of you. Absolutely meant. This has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for spending time with me, Jimmy. Anytime. Thanks, everyone in the chat. We're going to catch everybody next time. Have a great and safe night, and fill it with some 5-star reads, everybody.